Association. This is an increase of 1 million since 2011. Some families chose to opt out of cooking at home because they want to make the day less about who cooks the meal and more about sharing the meal.
Meals are togetherness, and today with the nuclear families we have, that happens less and less. And with kids having their cell phones and having activity, they're not around a lot for meal times.
And among the restaurants that open their doors on Thanksgiving, some believe the ones with the greatest longevity have the best food. And did you miss the Montgomery County Thanksgiving Parade? Don't worry, you've got another chance to take it in with our meteorologist Brian Vandegraff and me. We were the hosts. Our broadcast of the parade re-airs at 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock today, so please watch it. We had a good time. Several local municipalities have been considering increases for their minimum wage. That includes in Prince George's County, where the county council just pushed a measure forward for a rate hike. We're going to take a look at that story next, and we'll also tell you how a deal to create the world's largest airline could affect you. Those stories and more when we come back. It's 12:18.
I want to wish you a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. We give thanks for all our men and women in uniform and for their families, who are surely missing them very much today. We're grateful for their sacrifice, too.
Thousands of U.S. troops are spending this Thanksgiving in Afghanistan. Servicemen and women lined up to have turkey, ham, and all the trimmings. American troops have spent the holidays in Afghanistan since 2001. If you're curious about what the nation's first family is feasting on this Thanksgiving, the White House has released the menu. Take a look. All their traditional trimmings, plus some lavish desserts. And all, the first family will feast on 9 different types of pie. Millions of Americans breathed a huge sigh of relief this morning when Macy's announced the winds were cooperating enough for those famous balloons to fly. Anthony Johnson takes a look at the famous parade.
They're cool, except some of them are not so high.
The big balloons were allowed to fly. They were not grounded, but they did have to stay close to the ground. Spider-Man made contact with the tree branch at 77th Street, and as a result, his wrist deflated. Handlers struggled to keep him afloat. While the sustained winds weren't unbearable, the gusts did make it tough to keep things under control. The big balloons were kept lower than usual as police closely monitored the situation along the route of the parade. For those lining the sidewalks, the big balloons were still a thrill.
It was a great call. It worked out well. Not too bad down here, so I think it's been a great parade.
We were worried. We weren't sure.
We're excited that they happened. It was the kids' first experience.
New York City officials were keeping a close eye on the weather. No one wanted to see a repeat of the accidents which took place in 2006 and back in 1997.
There's been a lot of training. All the personnel that we have assigned to accompany the balloons have gone to training in New Jersey last couple of weeks.
The cheering was full of life, and the clowns were full of fun. For the families who braved the cold, they felt it was worth it.
It's our first trip up and probably our last. Both our girls just went by in the Tarpon Springs Outdoor Performance Ensemble, so we're very pleased that they get the full experience with the balloons being up in the air today.
Yes, the winds were tricky, and yes, it was cold. But for the hardy kids, this parade was amazing.
I like everything about this, though.
You like everything?
Pretty much. Happy Thanksgiving! Happy Thanksgiving!
Yay, Brian's back too. How do you mark this Thanksgiving compared to others weather-wise? Because we had sun. It is cold. This is more like a Christmas.
You know, it's interesting. This is very scientific. When I opened up the forecast, my last year's Thanksgiving forecast, I hadn't been touched for a year. It was 60 last year on Thanksgiving. So,
stories. Not everything is closed today, but one Pizza Hut manager said enough is enough and refused to open his restaurant. Scott Thuman tells us what happened next.
While some shoppers may love spending their Thanksgiving out and about, that doesn't mean workers do, including Tony Rohr of Elkhart, Indiana.
I said, well, why can't we be the company that stands up and says we care about our employees and you can have the day off?
As manager of this Pizza Hut, he said he wouldn't open up. And when asked to resign, he claims he refused.
Thanksgiving and Christmas are the only 2 days that they're closed in the whole year, and they're only 2 days that those people are guaranteed to have off to spend with their families.
Instead, he says he wrote his bosses this letter. I hope you realize that it's the people at the bottom of the totem pole that make your life possible. Whether he was fired or not, his bosses dispute he was let go, Rohr has received national attention, including from Pizza Hut headquarters, not technically in charge of the Indiana franchise. On Facebook it posted, "We fully respect an employee's right to not work on a holiday," which is why the vast majority of Pizza Huts in America are closed on Thanksgiving. As a result, we strongly recommended that the local franchisee reinstate the store manager, and they have agreed. Earlier today, Rohr said he did finally get a call from his boss last night, but hasn't called back. He's not sure if he wants to return to the store where he worked his way up, or if it's time to look elsewhere.
They're still going to be open, I'm sure, and they're still going to sell pizza, but I just didn't think it was right.
Scott Thuman, News Channel 8.
We're back with more news and a check of the 7-day forecast right after this.
Aprovecha esta promo increíble de Tic Tac. Vos elegís la intensidad que te gusta. Ingresá el código de cualquiera de tus packs en facebook.com/Tic Tac Argentina y elegí entre la intensidad